because there is a stigma around men that, there is no such thing as a man's mental health. And coming from a place where even men's mental health was being stigmatized and was seen as unnecessary, after doing my research and understanding that, yes, well, if men don't have a good mental well-being, unfortunately, they won't be able to do what men are supposed to do. Toxic masculinity. Pageantry. Just kidding.
Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of Unlimited, where we dive into juicy conversations designed to expand your mind and broaden your horizon. My name is Gudron Maine, but you guys can call me PK. And today I'm not alone. I am with an extraordinary guest who is passionate about mental health, particularly men's mental health, leadership, IT, and pageantry. He's the former legal officer of the Natural Sciences faculty at the NW University and Mr. Personality for Moahi Village, a finalist for Mr. and Miss NWU VTC 2024, an advocate for self-discovery, breaking toxic masculinity norms, and bringing spirituality into leadership. Please join me. Welcome, Jonathan Don Chirane.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for accepting and honoring the invite. Mr. Jonny, let us just have convo status, right? Let's start on somewhat a shallow level. What was the last thing you Googled?
The last thing I Googled?
Yes.
Well, I would say the last thing I Googled was...
Don't lie.
Okay. I would say the last thing I Googled, yes, was how to get closer to God.
And how did you get to that point of searching that?
Well, it was on Sunday on a sermon. The pastor was talking about, he was talking about how you should be close to God, and I've been taking my spirituality much more seriously this year. So I've been doing a lot of research on how to get more close to God, because finding out that if you live your life without God, you're going to have a lot of tragic in your life.
True.
And also, the other thing I searched was IT internships. Yes.
Mr. Ed, Mr. IT. If you had a superpower for a day, what would it be and how would you use it?
Superpower?
Yes.
When I watched The Boys. Okay, superpower. Okay, I don't want to say invisibility because, we know. Well, I would say superpower, right? The ability to control. Yeah. And specifically, to use that superpower to be able to control myself. Because, sometimes, your desires can go against with what the will of God is. So I would say that is a superpower that I would like to have, the ability to control. Yeah.
Interesting.
And strength, especially that one. Not only strength in the physical, but also in the emotional spectrum as well.
Now I want you to challenge me. Give me 2 truths and 1 lie about yourself. And let's see if I can spot or guess the lie.
Okay. Let's see. 2 truths, 1 lie.
Yes.
Well, back in the days, I was a child actor in Movango.
Okay.
I have one sibling.
Okay.
And lastly, I'm single.
Well, we know you're single, Jonny. Come on. So this one is the truth. Maybe acting at Movango, is that a lie? Or did you? I'd say that's a lie. Acting
Go on.
Movango. Yes, I'd say that's a lie. And the other two are truths.
You're correct.
Come on, man. That was PK. Hello. And the last one is, you mentioned a superpower, but we know that every superhero has an original story. So what's one moment in your life that shaped who you are today?
One moment in my life.
Yeah.
Well, I would say specifically going to the superpower of having unlimited strength, like Kratos in God of War. I would say where it started was somewhat having a problem with abandonment issues. Yeah. So specifically mostly towards my brother, because me and my brother, we were close. But then he abandoned me. So that's where I felt alone. But then after that, I started to take more seriously when it came to, to my parents, to look for them for guidance, because I thought, as brothers, guys are two.
You're supposed to be together, yeah.
So I would say that's the start where he started to betray me a lot of times. And by doing that, I felt every time when he was successfully manipulating me, I always felt weak, and I always felt that I should be better than this. But every time when his presence is already there, I start to shut down and I just follow what he wanted me to do. So by doing that, it made me to be like, you know what, I just want to break away from that. And after breaking away from that, that's where I would say I started to find strength.
What a story. So without a waste of time, Jonny, how about we dive a bit deeper?
Well, how deep do you want us to go?
As deep as we can possibly go.
All right.
That doesn't sound okay, but yeah. So, Mr. Chirane.
Yes, sir.
One of the topics I'd say are very close to your heart is that of men's mental health.
Ooh, yes.
But I believe before we can even go in, let's just be honest, it's a taboo topic.
Yes, especially nowadays, because there is a stigma around men that, there is no such thing as a man's mental health. And coming from a place where even men's mental health was being stigmatized and was seen as unnecessary. After doing my research and understanding that, yes, well, if men don't have a good mental well-being, unfortunately, they won't be able to do what men are supposed to do. So, yeah.
So, from what she's saying, how would you define a man? What do you think makes a man, especially in the 21st century?
Well, should I say that what makes a man is being able to have a good role model, specifically Jesus Christ, because he's the only masculine man who has ever lived on this earth. He lived on this earth without sin, and he died without sin. And I would say he was a good leader. Especially one of my favorite verse about him, or his saying, is that I did not come here on this world to be served, but I came here to serve people. So by that, I followed that kind of leadership, should I say, that kind of leadership teaching ever since when he said that. So I would say by imitating Jesus Christ. That is what makes a man a man. Because in nowadays, what makes a man is very complicating because it depends on where you're from. You know, because if you talk about the West, they're in the developed countries. What makes a man there is totally different than what makes a man in developing countries.
True.
Especially in impoverished countries, because most of the times, yes, men are mostly defined by strength, stoicism, and being able to take their word and honor as well. I would say those are the main foundations, and also those are the foundations that Jesus Christ, should I say, he's the one who came with that and also showed it towards everybody and also his disciples. Whereas nowadays, what makes a man is that you need to have more than 6 figures in your bank account. You need to have slept with more than, I think, a triple-digit body count, cigars, be bald, and I would say speak ill upon women and show women that, you know what, you're just here just to reproduce and that's it. So yeah, I would say it's being part of the red pill and also the black pill there where you have to like hate women, which is something which is odd. So you see, when it comes to like being a man nowadays, it's quite confusing.
And what would you say to men out there who are maybe struggling with dealing with their mental health or going about working on it? They're struggling, they don't know where to start. As a person who is somewhat in that journey of, you know, cultivating a healthy mindset, cultivating a healthy life, how or which steps, if I can put it like that, or advice would you give them?
Well, this one's gonna rattle a lot of people. First, find Christ. That's the first thing that I would say. Find Christ, you know, and then buy a Bible, man. You know, that's the other thing. Yes, phone Bibles are fine, you know, but having a physical Bible, yeah, have that. Because, you know, especially like when you have the Bible and then you start reading from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Gospels of the disciples, they were writing the notes, actually writing according to what they experienced when they were with Jesus, because, you know, they wrote everything what Jesus did, what he what advice, and also what kind of ways that you're supposed to follow. Because I would tell you that if the Bible, it's more informational based than all these self-help books that you read. Because if you actually read the Bible first, you're going to see that they actually derive from the Bible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Some, yes, maybe a little bit there according to having a Jezebel spirit, but but specifically, you know, if you read like, you know, the first 4 books of the Bible, yes, that's the first thing. Because also when it comes to mental health, most of the times when it comes to men, the mental health is mostly based on identity crisis.
Yeah.
They try to find who they are in this world. That's why they start to look up to role models like Andrew Tate, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, and Myron Gaines or Fresh and Fit, and all of those guys. Which, yes, what they say, it's not wrong. However, when you now see it, if you implement it, because as men, you know, we are logical individuals, if you now put it in a logical sense, yeah, that's where a lot of people say that, yes, we are misogynist. Of course, we hate women. But that's not even the case. Well, exclude Dr. Peterson. But yes, so that is the problem when it comes to men, is that they're trying to find who they are in this ever-changing world. Because every time when they want to become a man, that's when they're going to be not demonetized, demoralized. Yes, dematized. That no, don't do this, that's wrong. So that is the problem. The most important thing is, yes, that is failing our men is mostly like finding their identity. And that's why if they read the Bible, they start reading the Bible, finding Christ, that's where, you know, you'll find your identity, not only towards yourself, but the most importantly, finding your identity in Christ.
So, coming from a vendor tradition, right? We could be wrong based on how we view vendor as a tradition, and how do you then incorporate all of these, right? Christianity, cultivating your own life, and not leaving your tradition behind?
Well, I would say that is difficult. That is very difficult. But good thing is that I had a strong role model, which was my father. He was a good role model, and he was also, he was also vendor. However, the things that, when it comes to mostly about the traditional phase, yeah, there's some things that most of the times when we knew about, vendor people is that, yes, we have strength and in the mind and also intelligence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say we incorporated only those aspects when it comes to vendor people. But however, when it comes to, yes, your roots, as in mostly going according to ancestry there, yeah, we did not really pay attention to it. But however, we do never forget where we come from, visiting vendor there and there, understanding, everything, and asking questions, about vendor. So I would say, as long that is the thing of, yes, should I say, what you are, as in where your roots are.
Yeah.
But you should always know that your identity mostly should be Christ-based.
You said a mouthful there. Let's talk about your love for IT. What inspired Jonny to choose IT? Why? Why IT?
Well, I actually want to be a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, but IT was not really like my first choice, really. I would say IT, it came to me when I was most of the time like fiddling around with the home computer, being able to disassemble it and then put it back together again, being able to solve some viruses that was in my phones and also in my computers back in the time, even last year as well. So by doing that, I was like, okay, you know what, I guess tech is not such a bad idea, so that's where I started to do more research about IT and how actually the world is now revolving into a technological base, especially when it comes to even being a doctor. But then I was like, you know what, let me just take IT full on. Why not? So that's where I was like, you know what, okay, since this is also, my strength when it comes to technology, let me do so. And then I ran away with it and I never looked back.
And how is it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Yes. I mean, it's true as they say. I mean, being a programmer and an IT student, more coffee and more sleepless nights, yes. Because you have to worry about, okay, making sure that everything, it's okay. Then you'll be like, press run. Then it says there's an error on one line. And you'll be like, okay, why? And this error is the only error that will make my application to work. So yeah, it's something, I would say it's not for the weak. Especially for a person who is trying to lower down his worries, because I have, ever since that I've allowed Christ to take over my life, I found out that I actually have a worrying problem. I worry a lot, very much. So especially now being in IT, worrying that, will this work or will this run, and is this what the user is it user friendly to the user? So yeah, it's not for the weak, that's what I could say. But then I read a scripture, actually it's in Matthew 6. Do not worry about anything. Don't be anxious about anything. So I am incorporating that within my life.
You mentioned something a few weeks back, or should I say a few months back, when you said Jonny was a person who couldn't express himself. Jonny was a person who used to live in his own cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was due to pageantry, which we're going to talk about a bit later.
Okay.
But what would you say pushed you to say, you know what, I'm done living in this cocoon. I'm done living up to societal standards, because I believe it's one thing that is killing most men. Let's be honest. Social media, okay, it has its positives and negatives.
Yes.
But what did you say was that one thing that pushed Jonny to say, you know what, I'm just going to cultivate my own life. To a certain degree, I will not care what people think.
Mm-hmm.
I will not care titles that come with this life that I'm now building for myself, or this change that I'm implementing in my life. What pushed you to that edge, and what is keeping you there?
Well, I would say, honestly, yes, it's not to care, but the origin of not to care is not to think about the outcomes and just enjoy every moment. Yeah, because it's that thing I was really having a problem with. The more of a sense of being in my cocoon is mostly of that thing of being able to conform with the crowd and staying in, just trying to please everyone. That, oh yes, yes, I'm able to fit in there, I'm able to fit in there. I would say I have a little bit of a strength of being adaptable. But then when you become too adaptable in a certain degree, you will start to lose yourself, and you'll start to find identity upon other people, and also upon social media as well. So you're trying to prove other people and also social media that yes, this is who I am according to you. But then, with the help of even my brother Sam, a very close friend, I would say he's the one who influenced me a lot more to be like, why do you care so much? Because me and him, we like to deep think, and we like to go into philosophical stuff when we conversate.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, I hear you said that this person did this. Why do you care? And I'm like, oh, okay. Wait, but why do I care though?
Why?
Why? So that's when I was like, you know what? I don't care. Because the most thing, especially when you grow up in a place where they always expect you to be in this certain way, number one. And also, in order for you to be in that certain way, you have to please people. And when you please people, you're going to get rewards. So that is where you are thinking about, okay, if I do this to this person,
You get this and this and that.
you get this. Then when you get this, then everything will be fine. But that's not how you're supposed to live. You're supposed to live in a way that I would say, yes, in some certain degree, the way that you want. But then, of course, you have to live in a way in what God wants. Because the problem is about people, is that they change.
Honestly, yeah, they do.
I mean, for example, like my mother, I love her very much. I was talking to her last night, she was saying that, you should keep your hair, I like the size of your hair. But then I was like, but Ma, remember last year you said that I should shorten my hair? I'm confused.
What do you really want?
What do you want?
Yeah.
But now when it comes to God, God says that, okay, you should live this way. You should live this way. And remember, God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if God says, if you live this way, then yeah, live. And don't care what other people say. Especially there was this verse where he said that if you live it was something about living according to the word. I'm paraphrasing, but it was going according something when you live with the world. If you're lovers of the world, or something if the world loves you, then you're from the world. you're not from me. So I was like, damn. Now I'm with God, you understand? So you know what? I don't care about what other people think. If people, even right now, we could maybe like, you know, there could be like atheists, you know, agonists who are like, be like, you know, another Christian, you know,
Here we go
podcast,
again. Yeah.
blah. But you know what? I don't even care, you know. Even when it came to my channel as well, I started to like, you know, restart everything with my channel. I started to delete all the red pill, I would say seducing, womenized content, stuff like that. I started to like, you know what, start afresh, and then, you know what, only Christ-based, only content that is going to help other men, and also women can also join, but other men as well, to walk with me of the journey of Christ. So yeah, not to care. I was like, you know what, I'm done with this.
Another topic that's quite important that is affecting men is this box, if we can call it that, called toxic masculinity. Right. Ideas of who men should be. We touched on it a bit, but now I just want you to open this packet of sweets. Or maybe it's worms.
Okay.
Open this packet of worms and just tell us more about your views on it. Do you think it exists? And if yes, what it is? If it doesn't exist to you, then what is it again?
Okay. Toxic masculinity. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Why?
Well, because it doesn't make any sense. How can you say to a man that, okay, it's toxic for you to be masculine? It's toxic for you to go outside and be resilient no matter hardships, no matter pain. You have to endure pain. You have to be strong. You have to be mentally strong specifically, you know, and you need to cultivate the skills. You need to have authority, leadership. So how can you say like those aspects, or having honor and also having respect, how can you say like those aspects is toxic? And why is it mostly that thing of toxic masculinity? Why isn't there toxic femininity? Because that means there is a sense of being a woman can be toxic feminine. That means her actually being a woman, being able to submit, being able to nurture. That means that's considered toxic femininity. So it does not exist.
Let me just say something. I'm not saying there is toxic masculinity.
Okay.
But it's somewhat a limit.
What do you mean by that?
We are unlimited, right? And maybe that idea stems from things or actions that are associated to masculinity.
Okay.
Right. As to say, a person who's masculine is someone who's strong, someone who's competitive, hyper competitive, someone who, then I think actually this is what people are trying to address when they said it's toxic masculinity. A man's inability to express their emotions, right?
Okay.
Something that is killing most men. And maybe the word toxic masculinity does not fit the description. What fits the description is societal standards.
Absolutely.
Because that's what it is. To say men were put in this box, I don't know where this box comes from, as to say if a man expresses his emotions, of course not hail like a hyena, but one's ability to express themselves emotionally, it is somewhat associated to weakness, which is wrong. Again, it is wrong to associate that to weakness, because I believe that a man's ability to express themselves emotionally is a strength, especially in today's world where emotional intelligence is one of the skills that we need. So I'm not disagreeing with you to say there's no toxic masculinity does not exist. I agree with you 100%. But I'm just saying maybe we shouldn't just turn a blind eye to it, but just try to maybe understand where the person who came with this idea of you man, you are toxic, where it comes from. Because then the question then comes into place to say, if men can be toxic, femininity comes with a certain criteria. For example, to be caring, to nurture. Then does it mean that if a woman then becomes dominant and she becomes competitive, is that being toxic? Is that then toxic femininity? The question is to say, why is it linked to men so much that it doesn't to a certain degree exist for women, or it's not so popular for women?
That's a good question. Because the people who express that there's toxic masculinity are the feminists.
I think another question that we can talk about, maybe not here, because we will
You don't want to get canceled.
is what is femininity? And if you have any information or any idea of what it is, please go to the comment section and tell us what you think femininity is, and tell us if you believe there is such a thing as toxic masculinity. And give us your views. We will be looking forward to looking at the comment section. Jonny, two men sitting here, and I think it's somewhat of an irony or paradox of some sort to say we just spoke about toxic masculinity, to say we just...
But I want to go back. I heard that you actually mentioned that part. You said that, men expressing themselves emotionally.
Yeah.
No. No.
Talk to me. What?
Nah. I don't think so. Men are supposed to express ourselves emotionally. We're supposed to be a rock, really. Because it's that thing of, if we are expressing ourselves emotionally, then what is us different than us being women? Because women do express themselves emotionally. So if we express ourselves emotionally, does that make us a man or a woman?
We're still men.
You're still men.
It's called being human, Jonny.
I mean, yes, we do, have some time to time, But the question is, what does it mean to be emotional? Because most of the times when I'm thinking of emotional, I'm thinking that thing of men are not supposed to, men are supposed to like cry or something. But what does it mean to be emotional? I mean, like also expressing happiness or expressing anger or expressing, what is it? Because most of the times when it comes to emotional, when men being emotional, the only emotion men comes out, it comes to be, it's anger. So when you say being able to express, a man should be able to express themselves emotionally, they'll beat someone up.
Maybe I wasn't that direct as to say what did I really mean about being like a man's ability to express themselves emotionally. What I'm saying is a man's ability to voice themselves.
Okay. To speak out when something is wrong.
To speak.
Yes, that's one of even the pillars of being masculine, assertiveness.
To a certain degree, I believe that will assist with this challenge of being aggressive whenever you are voicing yourself. Because emotional intelligence, it assists us to coexist in a world that is, one, filled with challenges. Two, a world that will beat you down. Three, a world with a woman. Because if you are a man who cannot understand emotions, then maybe you are not a man who is meant to be with a woman. Take it from me. Men are logical people. We are logical beings.
Fact.
Right. But our ability to then coexist with this other gender called woman, it means that we should be open to learn about the way they live, the way they voice themselves. So I believe that could be, to a certain degree, a contributing factor to violence, to abuse. We've given it a fancy name called gender-based violence. It's abuse. I believe it also stems from there, as to say most men understand one way, or just one way of communicating or expressing themselves.
Which is through action.
Anger, in most cases. Whilst women would speak.
Women are able to speak their emotions, whereas us men, we act on our emotions.
Right. So don't you think if we can try to get that silver lining between the two genders, is to say, okay, this is how women go about life. This is how men go about life. What is common between these two genders and what is different? And from there then we say, how do we then educate each other to coexist? Not to blend out the differences, but to coexist. Because let's be honest, a man to a certain degree will not be emotional 100%. But did you know that within Jonny, within your masculinity, you are feminine?
Yes.
Some men are scared to express that, right? So don't you think that if we as men were able, not to say now we have to be girly and all that, but have that power to embrace ourselves holistically and not just choose one side?
Well, that most of the times, this one, it's a sorry to the viewers, that most of the times, depending on if you had both a strong masculine figure and a caring feminine figure, because that's where you'll be able to balance out and be able to understand how do those balance. Yes, I do believe that I would say the most important skill that a man should learn is emotional intelligence. That one, I do agree, 100%. Because yes, a lot of things, not only when it comes to women, even though women are, we love them, complicating, but yeah, we love them, but also when it comes to the world, emotional intelligence is the most important factor. Being able to, I would say, use your emotions in a healthy way.
Yes.
Not in necessarily like suppressing aggression, because as men, we need that aggression in order for us to continue. But being able to take it out on maybe going to the gym, lifting weights, or going outside and just shouting, "Hey!" Stuff like that. But not being able to, express now that aggression towards somebody else. Now that is wrong, absolutely. But now when it comes to this thing of where, yes, a level sense of emotional intelligence is needed, a level sense of being able to handle negative emotions is needed, being able to understand what triggers them, and also being able to understand how can you use them to benefit how can you use to benefit your own well-being.
Okay, so to a certain degree we are agreeing with each other.
Yes.
Is to say, we're not saying men should be girly. No, men should still be men, but men should be able, or should acquire, that skill called emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily to, it's all in the name of conquering the world, but not to manipulate women, but to be able to coexist with them. Because I believe that compassion is also there. Compassion is somewhat to a certain degree found in our feminine side.
And also empathy. And specifically empathy as well. Because to show that if a man doesn't have that sense of femininity, because that femininity within us, it's actually the emotions. If we cut off like zero from that, yeah, we will go haywire. I would say it's even impossible, but yeah, we'll go haywire. Because even women as well, they have a certain kind of masculinity.
Yeah.
Because it's that thing of course, what pushes them, to be what they are and whatnot, is of course that authority masculine figure that is within them. And whereas in the guys, is that thing of, okay, I think I was hard on this person. You see, now that is the feminine inside. So it's that thing of, if you had your wife, or yes, if you were courting or venting somebody that you're going to marry, they, especially if they do have an equal corresponding feminine side within you, you will see that the feminine inside of you is going to be equal to the person who you're with. Therefore, you'll see that, okay, it will be able to work. And the same thing vice versa, as the masculine side of you will be able to coexist, be able to correspond with the masculine, with the person who you're with.
Good people, we're not saying men should be somewhat, I don't know, friendly or anything. Please don't take it out of context. We're just having a healthy conversation here, trying to find that silver lining between the two genders, and from there find somewhat a leveling point. Is to say, how do we then coexist
the middle
in a
ground.
world that is, especially so fast. Let us be honest, 21st century is not Shosholoza train.
Yes.
This one, it's a how train, my brother.
It's a bullet train from Japan. Like, it's a
You think you have it, but then you realize it's gone. You just see the tail, which is also a head.
Absolutely.
Then you become confused.
Not sure if it's coming or it's going.
Exactly. So yeah, our good people, we are about to talk about something, Jonny, that's quite, to a certain degree, opposite to what we just spoke about. Right?
Okay.
We just spoke about masculinity. We just spoke about these barriers that society has built. And we are about to crush them all down. Jonny, let's talk pageantry. I believe it's one thing that, to a certain degree, contributed to us breaking loose of these societal standards. Because let us be honest, most people out there believe that pageantry is for women. But we got to NWU. Well, for me, it was way before I even made it to high school. I joined pageantry, I think I was in grade 3. But then as you grow, you then look at the algorithm, if we can call it that, the trends and the traits within the pageantry industry, as to say, a man who is in pageantry should look like this. Actually, that's for modeling. A man should look like this, a man should look like that. And maybe we can actually talk about the difference between pageantry and modeling. But before we can get to that point, I just want you to just revisit some of our first interactions.
Okay.
And tell me what you got from them at first, and if it was true when the journey continued with me. Because I believe that that's one of the best ways a person can learn, to get feedback from people they interacted with. So revisit some of our early interactions, how we met, where we met. We both know where it was. And just tell me what stood out for you. What will you never forget? And yeah.
Well, they're lying. I wasn't in pageantry. Just kidding. Yeah, pageantry. Yeah, I mean, it was the first time. First of all, I didn't know what was pageantry at first, And then they said pageantry, it's modeling. Then I'm like, modeling? But, oh, okay, but I see guys there, because yes, I also had that fixed thing that, modeling is for women. Because when they talk about modeling, they'll be like, did you see Miss South Africa?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I never heard anything about Mr. South Africa. I hear like, yes, maybe bodybuilding as in Mr. Universe.
Yeah.
For bodybuilders, that's it. But when it comes to like pageantry or even modeling, I never thought that there was such a thing of men being able to do those kind of things. And also, I thought that yes, it was a little bit girly, But then when we got into it, and you being my mentor in being so, and it made me to be like, okay, number one, yes, my concern was the walk, because I thought that we're going to like, okay, now we're gonna shake our hips, here we go, but no, the way that we're walking, it was in a way of how people in movies they walk. They walk with that confident presence, chest out, shoulders back, and a rigid, erected spinal cord there. And I was like, okay, well, wow, okay, now this is new, and I didn't actually think of that, So from there onwards, then the segments of where you're able to express yourself, where is the personality, the personality, because most of the times I would say I looked up to James Bond. I watched all the James Bond. I'm more like a James Bond fanatic. So I was like, that's what stood out to me a lot more. It was close to who I wanted to be when it came to the personality segment. And I would say able to handle emotions, being able to multitask, that's where also, emotional intelligence came in, being able to multitask as well. You got your schoolwork here, and then also you got practices as well, sleepless nights, like to overwork us there, you. But other than that, it was an amazing experience. I don't want to lie, especially when, if you are a guy who has never even, should I say, have a female presence close to you. Yeah, you feel it, man. That, there's a woman here. Like, come on. For the first time, I'm being at least, like, touched by a woman, at least. So, yeah, do it, guys.
Come on, Jonny. Come on, Jonny.
But other than that, being able to also understand that, there are different kinds of personalities.
Yeah.
Different kinds of ways to even handle personalities. Especially when it came to the segments where you have to go with a partner. Especially that is a woman, and being able to be, should I say, a gentleman and on how you're supposed to even treat women when it comes to pageantry, because pageantry is not necessarily a way of an act.
Yeah.
It's more of a way that on how you're supposed to live, because most of the stuff that I got from pageantry, I am still using that even today. The confidence and the way of understanding people, the way of even treating women as well. It improved on me on being able to understand a lot of people a lot more.
So, you did say that you learned or discovered quite a number of things about yourself, discovered quite a number of strategies that you can implement in your life, which you are now implementing, all from pageantry. So, if you were to choose that one skill, that one lesson you learned from pageantry, what would it be and why? Just one.
One?
Yes, just one.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, just one.
Just one.
Oh.
One skill from pageantry I would take. Well, one skill, right? Well, I would say the ability to speak. That's one skill that I would say, despite from any other thing. Second, which is coming from, confidence, but the one I would say is the ability to speak. Being able to speak succinctly, briefly, because, when it came to pageantry, it taught us on how you're supposed to brief things down and summarize everything instead of just vomiting words, So especially, the part of like the introduction.
Yeah.
Tell us who you are and what you stand for. Okay, this is me. I stand for this. And no, like who you are. What do you really stand for? Because you cannot make like your course a personality, or it doesn't make you. Who were you before you even was in that course? Like, so it was that thing of like a lot of self-discovery. And being able to speak in a sense of to speak out on who you are and impactful with conviction. That's a skill that I'll take any day of the damn week.
In closing, we've covered quite a number of points and topics. To give us just a brief summary of what you would want people to take out of this conversation today, what would that summary be? Just in 2 sentences.
2 sentences?
Yes.
I thought you meant 2 words.
No, 2 sentences.
I would say the first sentence is, when it comes to everything that we have discussed here, we may be lost in an ever fast-paced world. However, if you give God the chance and allow Him to show who you are in Him, you'll be amazed what you're able to do. Because when it comes to, if we go with, with identity, with identity crisis, mental health, being able to express yourself in a world where they don't want you to even express yourself. If you just allow God to show who you are instead of the other world, instead of what people say, instead of the society standards, if you just be like, you know what, God, who do you want me to be? And show me the way. You'll be amazed who you are.
Beautifully said. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please go ahead and click that like button. And if you're not yet part of the community, smash that subscribe button so that you feel your seat agar $1 and leave a comment for us so that we know what stood out for you in today's episode. And if you have any ideas or any requests on topics or questions you'd like us to answer, Bona, don't be afraid. We're here together. See you guys next time. God bless. Stay blessed.